Today's daf is Kofei 105. We pick up at the bottom of Kofdal and Bet. We're dealing with the list of the kings, but we're also trying to figure out why certain kings weren't included. That was a whole discussion yesterday. And then finally, the very end of yesterday's daf was who did the counting. It was Anshe Knesset Hagdola. They wanted to include Shlomo as a king who didn't have a Chelik L'Olam Haba, and sort of God came out with a fire from heaven and a heavenly voice, and they wanted to ignore that heavenly voice. Very similar to the whole story of about the Tana Shalachnai, as opposed to the end of the story of the Tana Shalachnai, which ended with Lo B'Shamayim. We get to decide what the halacha is. This one ends with God saying, I get to decide who gets it to go into Olam Haba. Just because the rabbis are making up a list, that's not going to determine who gets into Olam Haba or whatever. That's going to be in the end be my decision, which is a very nice sort of it answered a question, right, which I think is on our minds, who told the rabbis who's going to get into Olam Haba or not? They darshaned it from Sukkim, but at the end of the day, that's their power in terms of halacha. But in terms of these types of questions, ultimately that's sort of saying, God is saying, that's me for me to decide.
So the list is kind of meaningless.
Well, you would say that since God only came and protested by their desire for Shlomo, is it implicitly right? It leaves you wondering about that. Anyway, so let's pick up from 4 lines from the bottom with the punchline of that. Yotz Tabasko ve'amra. So a heavenly voice came out and said, "Hamei imcha yishal mena." Will the question of who finds peace, will that come from you? Maybe also play with the word Shlomo here. Okay. Or Rashi says, "What I'm sorry, the word is not from Shalom, but to Yishalmena for Tashlumin, right? That's obviously that's the word, right? Are you the one who compensates? Ki ma'asta, you have chosen who to despise. Ki atati char, you think you get to choose? V'lo ani, and I'm not the one who chooses. Okay, then Dorshe Rishimos. So now that's that list. Now, Dorshe Rishimos, which is those who interpret Psukim, always, of course, know exactly who this refers to. Anyway, how you Omrim, but these are people who would do stuff in Agadata, and they said, Kulam b'ayim olam haba. They took sort of God's approach one step further. They rejected the whole list. Everybody, even those wicked kings, get olam haba. Shene'emar, because based on the following pasuk, Li Gilad v'li Menashe, to me is Gilad and Menashe ve'Ephraim, Ma'oz Roshi, and Ephraim is the strength of my head. Yudah mechokaki, Yehuda is my scepter. Moav sir rachzi. Now those, Moab is the pot in which I will bathe in. Edom al Edom ashlich na'ali, on Edom I will cast my shoes. So obviously the simple sense of the pasuk is the first half is about God saying, I've chosen the tribes of Israel and I will despise these tribes of Edom and Moab, and I'll use them to bathe in and cast my shoes on. Okay, alai pileshet hitroai. On me, the pileshtim will be tremble or whatever. So now we're going to interpret it the following way: Li Gilad v'li Menashe. So Li Gilad ze'achav. Shenafel Ramot Gilad. That's Achav who fell in Ramot Gilad. He's going to be with. I got him. As Rashi sort of says, it's I will endure his sin. I will carry his sin. He's gonna he'll get olam haba. Okay. Menashe Mashma'o. To me is Menashe. Menashe doesn't mean the tribe of Menashe. It means King Menashe. I got him covered too. Okay. Ephraim Ma'oz Roshi Ze Yeravam. That's Yeravam, the Kasim Ephraim. So he's also. I got him covered. Yehuda mechokaki. It's very ingenious how they did it, right? Yehuda is my scepter. Achitofel. We haven't mentioned Achitofel yet, okay? But that's one of the commoners. Tekasim Yehuda, who comes from Yehuda. Moav tzirachzi ze gechazi. Now back to, because we're going through the whole list, right? We've only been discussing the kings, but now we're getting on to the commoners, which we haven't sort of had a Gemara on yet. This is gechazi. Shalakal iske rechitza, that he gechazi, the whole thing with with Naaman, and he went and whatever. So it was all about the bathing. So that's why that includes that. That's gechazi. Al Edom ashlich na'ali zedoeg ha'adomi. There you go, Adom and Adomi. Alai pileshet hitroai. So what's that? So Amar Malach Yeshua Tzvon Baruch Hu Yibono Shalom. David Shara Plishti. So the pileshet is David who killed the Philistine, who killed Goliath. And he bequeaths God to your children. So he Mata Oselo, what are you going to do? Here you are, you're protecting Doag, who was this person who obviously informed against David Shashol and caused all this terrible tragedy. What's David going to say? Okay, so it says, don't worry, I'll make them friends with one another. You don't worry about it. Okay, God's still saying, like, I got it covered. All right, so also Achitophel, right? So Achitophel, two of these, Achitophel and Doeg, they're enemies of David. What are you gonna say to David? God says, I'll make them friends. Okay, so that's a very beautiful drasha. It's great, very ingenious to get all of them in. Okay, Madua Shoveva Ha'am Hazeh Yerushalayim Meshuva Nitzechet. So why does this people, constantly sort of, resist God and rebel against God? For an eternal, how does it translate Meshuva? Like a resistance or something, or
rebellion.
Impertinence, rebellion. Okay, so now. Persistent rebellion. Amarav, so now that we're dealing with how the king sinned, right now we're going to talk about the people. Amarav, teshuva nitzechet, yeshiva knesset lenovi. So this shoveva we're reading is a teshuva, not repentance, but response. And nitzechet, the word at the end, right? Mishuva nitzechet. So the people had, even the people were so sinful and so resistant to what the Novi had to say, they responded to him with a tshuva nitzechet, like with a completely devastating response, like that you couldn't answer it. Okay? So what was that? Amar le'noli Yisrael. He said to them, Chizu b'tshuva, do tshuva. Avosechem shechatu heicharein. Your fathers who sinned, where are they? Look, they're dead, So you don't want to be like them, so do tshuva. Of course, like everybody dies, which is pretty much what they said back to him. Amru lahen, they said back to the prophet, Uneviechem shelo chatu heicharein. How about your friends, the Navis? They didn't sin. Where are they? They're also dead. Everybody dies. That's not going to get us to do tshuva. So, and he said to, I'm sorry, even the Nevi'im aren't open forever. And he said to them, so there's a question. Is he saying, at least your fathers did tshuva and they admitted? Or is he saying to them, nevertheless, do tshuva, admit your sin? As it says, even my words that I commanded the prophets and Nevi'im, and the end of the sort of verse says about how the people sort of responded and admitted their sin. So one way of reading this is, which doesn't fit the idea that it's a complete that the people answered a devastating response, because then it would just say he told them to do tshuva and they did tshuva. So the other way of reading it is, your forefathers, at least when I gave them musar, they did tshuva. You should do the same. Okay. Anyway, there's no sort of end to that. There's no, response to that. Now, that doesn't sound so much like a tshuva nitzechet, but okay. So now it says, but now we're going to do other versions of what this tshuva nitzechet was. 10 people came and sat before the prophet. Okay, he said to them, they do tshuva. No, this seems to more like be the strong type of response. After a slave has been sold by the master, or a woman divorced by her husband, they have nothing to do with one another anymore. If God's abandoned us and God sent us into exile, don't tell us to do tshuva. That's it. God's abandoned us. We're done. That God said to the Navi, so that could sound like a tshuva nitzechet. But at the end of the idea, the tshuva isn't nitzechet, because God said to the Navi, go say to them. Now we're to Yeshayahu before we we're different Nevi'im here. Show me the bill of divorce that I sent away, where I sent away your mother. You put you in exile, but I never divorced you. Who is a creditor that I sold you off to? Okay, that's never happened. Now that's a little bit not saying just like, okay, there isn't a divorce, but it wasn't me who did it. You got yourself into this position. You sold yourself off because of your sins. All right, but don't so I guess the point would be, don't blame God. God wasn't the one who divorced you. You're the one who sent yourself away, and you're the one who could bring yourself back. So that's what Reish Lakish says. What's meant by the verse? David Avdi Nebuchadnezzar Avdi. So the verse is always calling David God's servant, but it calls Nebuchadnezzar God's servant. What type of comparison is that? So Golim Yadu Lifnei Shamar V'Ayolam was revealed before God. Shatidim Yisrael Lomar Kei, that the Jewish people would say what they said to the Navi, which is like, you sold us off. We have that's it. We're done with you. So therefore, what did God do? Therefore, God beat them to the punch and called Nebuchadnezzar his servant or his slave. And if a slave buys property, who owns the slave and who owns the property? The master. So once Nebuchadnezzar is God's slave, then when Nebuchadnezzar takes them into captivity, so if they're Nebuchadnezzar's slaves, they're also God's slaves. So you never left being sort of God's servants. You never left God's servitude. So that's the answer. Okay, so on the one hand, we're saying it's to Shuva Nitzechet. It's a completely devastating response. But then we're saying, no, actually, it wasn't. They didn't win with the response because here was the answer back to them. All right, 1 minute. So, okay, and now also another verse that directly addresses this. What you have thought to say, Hayolo Tihya will not be. You think, let's just be like the Goyim, we'll worship the stones and the wood. By my life, says Hashem God, even if it requires me to come with a powerful hand and without, pouring a fiery anger, I will be king over you. No matter how much you resist it, I'm going to take you back to my people as my people and be king over you. Amar Rav Nachman, said Rav Nachman, let God be as angry as that on us. Let us suffer all that anger as long as God in the end redeems us. So like it's interesting. Before we had the rabbis that said, I don't want to live in Yemos of Mashiach because I don't want to have to suffer all of the suffering of Chevlei Mashiach. But here it's saying, okay, God is expressing all this anger He will pour out on us, and Rav Nachman is saying as long as in the end you redeem us, it's worth it. Charlie wanted to say something.
Oh, the context of Nebuchadnezzar was the prophet was warning that you're going to be conquered by Nebuchadnezzar, and the implication seems to be that Nebuchadnezzar is acting
in God's right. Will. Correct. But we're making a different drush here. Okay. Okay, this is another version of what type of a response the people gave in resisting the Navi's Musar. So it says they will sort of subjugate him for justice, and their God will teach him. So what does that mean? I'm a Rabbi Baruch and Israel. They said to him, we can't, we have too big of a Yetzer Hara. Take control of your Yetzer Hara, subjugate it. They said to him, let the God who created the Yetzer Hara teach us how to control our Yetzer Hara, then we'll do it. Okay, so it's a little interesting way of ending the whole discussion of the kings, like why we're sort of discussing about this, about the people, but I just sort of like saying, the people get the leaders they deserve. Yes, so maybe vice versa.
Maybe this is coming in a little late, but if that Tana said all these people have Chel Olam Haba, is that maybe a view that be based on like a position like that? Even people that don't.
First of all, I said the first day is a line that was added later to the Mishnah. It wasn't originally part of the Mishnah. Now there's a whole big article by what's his name Orbach has about whether does that idea of reflect the standard approach of Chazal or not. Now and there's a good reasonable argument to be made that the dominant approach of Chazal is not that way. Like the Gemara says, tzaddikim, go to Olam Haba, Rishayim go to Gehenna, Beinonim or whatever in the middle, so it's not so. And as we've been discussing, it's one thing to say you're resurrected in Tchias HaMeisim and you're judged, but that you actually have a portion in the world to come, no matter how big of a rush you are. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the very fact that the Mishnah itself mentions a small number of really wicked people that don't have a Chiluk Haba, the message is pretty implicit that everybody else does have it. And the approach here that sort of says even these four have it is taking it even to the furthest extreme. No matter even the most wicked of Israel, right? So it's definitely, but everybody is within the assumption that the standard is that everybody has a Chiluk Haba. The question is, are there any exceptions? Are even the worst kings going to be the exceptions to that rule?
And that opinion that these people, do they also mean then Hedyotot too, or just the kings?
No, they listed Hedyotot also. The Drasha listed the Hedyotot. We have discussed that.
One other question, at the end of the day, yesterday...
It didn't list Bilam. There are 4 Hedyotos, and Bilam is the non-Jew. So it listed the 3 Jews. We're about to get to it, right? Arba Hedyotos, Bilam, Doeg, Achitophel, Gehazi. So the Drasha we just did, that they all have Chiluk Olam Haba, mentioned Doeg, Achitophel, and Gehazi. But Bilam, right, because that's still the Kol Yisrael Yeshem Chiluk Olam Haba. By the non-Jews, you have to it's Chasidei Umos Ha'olam, and that's the contrast, and that's actually what we're about to get to. Right, by the Jews, whether you hold by that list or not, it's only a tiny number. Even normal Rishonim do have a Chelak Olam Haba, is the point of the Mishnah, right? But by the non-Jews, it's only the Chasidei Umos Ha'olam. So there's still a different standard of who gets to enter in. Yeah.
Well, if it's only Chasidei Olam, we didn't need to say that Bilam doesn't have a Chelak.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I will get to that. We're got to turn to that in a
But
minute.
my other question is that, at the end of the day, yesterday we started saying that there was a Bakol that says, I decide who's Chelak.
Right.
So then what was our whole discussion if that's where we ended it? We didn't really need to have this whole discussion that this person didn't, Hachlam because of his son, whatever. It's no, because God decides who it is.
All right.
You can't be thinking
all right,
about
because
that,
at the end of the day, so we said, it's not clear what the message is at the end of that. Is the message that, none of this matters, it's all for God to decide, or it's don't tell me you're leaving you're putting Shlomo on the list, I'm going to put my foot down here. So it's it's not clear exactly what the message is. Anyway, let's go on. Don't get to ask those questions when you come in. Bilam, so now we're going to do a drasha on their names again, like we did before. Below Am, without a nation.
I was
Okay.
Well,
we're getting to that. Tavaracher Bilam, Shebala wiped out Am. Okay, Ben Ba'or, because you don't know where Bilam comes from, right? Exactly. It says he sent to Bilam, Eretz Bnei Ammo, whose nation? Bilam's nation, Balak's nation. Anyway, Ben Ba'or, Sheba al Be'ir. That either he or his father, not exactly clear this drasha, we're going to get it later explicitly with Bilam, had intercourse with his animal. Okay, with the Bilam, it's going to be with his donkey. Tano, who Ba'or, his father's name was Ba'or, same person as Ba'or, who Kushan Rishatayim, it's Kushan Rishatayim.
It came much later, though.
What do you want me to tell you? Who Lavan Harami? Okay, so this guy lived a long time. Okay, it was Lavan way back from the time of Yaakov. This other guy, this Kushan Rishatayim, that gave the Jewish people a hard time, later in the time of when they entered into the land.
Even though Bilam was killed.
Right, exactly. Bilam, these are all the same person. Okay, so, Ba'or, now, why does he have multiple names? Ba'or Sheba al Be'ir. He had intercourse with his animal. Kushan Rishatayim, the Avich Rishayis Israel. He did these two evil things to Israel. Achas b'mei Yaakov, since we're saying he's also Lavan, so he tried to wipe out, Yaakov, which would have ended the Jewish people. Achas b'mei Shvot Shoftim, and one of the time of the Shoftim, right? And so then 3 times, actually, if you count the time of what's Bilam and Balak. Well, actually, no, this is his father. Bilam. Okay, so his father twice tried to wipe out, the Jewish people. Umay Shimon, what's his name? Lavan Aram Yishmael. I don't know what the point is about tying these particular people together. I mean, they were non-Jews who tried to hurt the Jewish people or whatever. I mean, so maybe you want to sort of associate Bilam with his father, came from a similar type of family. But anyway, moving on. Okay. Where were we? Okay. Shema. Ksiv ben Ba'or, Ksiv beno Ba'or. One pasuk says the son of Ba'or, the other says beno, which could just be poetic, but they're reading it here beno Ba'or, meaning not the son of Ba'or, but Ba'or is his son. Okay, so what does this mean? So I'm Rabbi Yochanan, Aviv beno hayalo benaviyut. Ba'or is his son means when it comes to greatness in prophecy, Ba'or was second to Bilam. His father was his quote unquote son, his junior in matters of prophecy. Okay, now the Gemara gets to the bigger point. Bilam hu delo asi lamot asi. So Bilam doesn't get a portion in the world to come. Hachrini asu means sounds like other Jews have a portion in the world to come.
No, I mean,
what? No. Other non-Jews have a portion in the world to come. Masnisin mani. Who's our Mishnah? Rabbi Yeshua. He gets Rabbi Yeshua. Titania, we talk in Bryce. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Yeshua Rishaim L'Shaola. The wicked will go down into the the never world or whatever, to the depths. Kol goyim shechelohim. All the nations, those who forget God. So Yeshua Rishaim L'Shaola Elu Poshe Yisrael, the sinners of Israel. Now, by the way, notice that now it's not just 4 people that go into don't get Olam Haba. It's all of the Rishaim, which is the standard, I would say, theology. Anyway, Kol Goyim Shechei Elohim. All the nations who forget God, the sinners of the non-Jews. Now that's a little bit strange. That makes it sound like the text here is a little not clear, because that makes it sound like he's saying if you're a sinful non-Jew, right? The same, it parallels exactly Poshe Yisrael, Poshe of the Kochavim. But his real drasha is to read the verse as an equality, and not as not equality, whatever, like as an identity, right? Kol goyim shechei Elohim. By definition, all the nations are defined as those who forget God. So even not Rishai Goyim. All the Goyim are by definition defined as Rishai. Okay? That's really, now this is in the Tosefta. It's much longer in the Tosefta than it is here, and it's clearer in the Tosefta than it is here. So his basic drush is, Kol Goyim, all the nations are considered Shochachei Elohim. I'm a little Rabbi Yeshua.
Only Rishayim of Yisrael.
Well, the Rishayim, it's only, well, Yisrael, it's only the Rishayim. I'm a little Rabbi Yeshua. The key Nemar, Bichol Goyim. Now, it's not exactly also clear in this version. What's his response? Does it say amongst the nations? Again, it's not exactly clear the grammatical point he's making, but the upshot is clear. Ella, Yeshua Rishayim Lishola Maninu. Who are the Rishayim? Kol Goyim Shechei Elohim. Those who from the nations forget God, those are the Rishayim. Okay, so again, it's really like this is not clear at all how they're arguing. I mean, you sort of see whether they're arguing. Do you read it all those of the nations who forget God, or do you read it all the nations forget God? That's clearly what the drasha is. But the way the Gemara has it is it's very unclear, right? How to read? Yes, I did not get a chance to get the Rishami's good point. We would get so much in this part of it. I did not, but I will tell you the Tosefta. Okay. You want to hear the Tosefta? Yeah. First of all, the Tosefta starts interesting. First of all, the beginning of the Tosefta, Parakut Gimel, is Tana B'nei Rishei Yisrael Ein Lam Chelek Olam Haba. The sons of the Rishayim. That doesn't sound so fair. Rabbi Yeshua Omer Boin Hein L'Olam Haba. Okay, this is Parakut Gimel Halacha Aleph. Well, it's whatever in the Tosefta. No, they do get along, but Rabbi Yeshua is very inclusive. Okay, and now this actually is very relevant because it's assuming that they also are Rishayim, the B'nai Rishai Yisrael, but they're Rishayim because they were raised that way. They were raised like it's a whole question of Tinok Shenishba.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, he continues and he says, "Ulahalan hu omer shomer psaim Hashem." So two things. Number one is Shomer P'saim Hashem. It's not their fault. They're P'saim. They've been misled. Okay. And number two is, quoting a verse from Daniel, cut down the tree and leave the roots. Okay. Which is that even if you punish the father, like maybe something good will come out of the children. So that's a fascinating discussion about people who are wicked, but because they were raised in those types of families. So that's question number one. Okay. Okay, now next part. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. So first it says, the wicked of the non-Jew don't get resurrected, but the righteous one.
Isn't Uvnei Rishav
I'm sorry. Uvnei Rishav Dekocham Lochem Vlanim. Thank you. Okay, that's ending this issue about the children. Okay. Now, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Kol Rishav Dekochavim Ein Lem Chelek Olam Haba, Shenemar Yeshua Risham L'Shaola Kol Goyim Shechei Elohim, Yeshua Risham L'Shaola Elu Rishei Yisrael, Kol Goyim Shechei Elohim, Elu Rishav Dekochavim. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, Ilu Amar Kasuv. Here it's a lot clearer. Had the verse said, Yeshuva Rishayim L'Shaola, Kol Goyim V'Shatak Haya Omer Kidvarecha. If it said, let the wicked go down to the depths, all of the nations, period, you'd be right. It means all the nations are being viewed of as wicked. Okay? Haya Omer Kidvarecha. Where are we? Only those who forget God. There are righteous that do have a portion in the world to come. Okay, so it's clearer what they're debating, right? So you read it as an identity. All the nations are considered Shechei Elohim. All the nations, by definition, are Rishayim. Or those among them who are Shechei Elohim, they don't get Chelek Haba. Okay, and again, Rabbi Yoshua is the much more inclusive attitude towards Olam Haba. And you might also remember that there's a debate of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua about whether we need to do tshuva in order for God to bring the Mashiach. And Rabbi Eliezer said, if you don't do tshuva, Mashiach's never going to come. And Rabbi Yoshua said, God will force us to do tshuva. Like Mashiach is going to come regardless. Okay, so Rabbi Yoshua is a much more
he still says
welcoming type.
Even though it says like Rishayim of the Kocham don't have Chelek Olam Haba, he says still you may still assume that by default it's all of the Kocham are not Rishayim. But he still says
right. You could still say right. There's what about all the Beinonim of the Kocham? I understand. Anyway, so this is the fascinating debate, and I should say that, this is, I think, of all the, like, there's so many stuff, but of all, this is like has huge theological, like, implications. I mean, on the one hand, Michael's correct. First of all, it doesn't address the Beinonim. The fact that the Mishnah says Bilam doesn't have a Chelek Olam Haba would actually make it sound even like a broader statement than Rabbi Yoshua, right? That unless you're really, really wicked, maybe there's a slight difference. Like, maybe we'll say the really wicked, if you're Yisrael, then even if you're really wicked, you get in. But by a non-Jew, a really wicked person doesn't, okay? But nevertheless, it still sounds like it's pretty broad acceptance. But anyway, so first of all, there's a question like, how do we paskin? I mean, do you paskin theology? Like, we just started the whole idea, God says it's up for me to decide. So you can't really paskin theology, but nevertheless, Rambam says, that Tzaddik Chasidei Umas Olam Yesh Lam Chelek Olam Haba. And in a way, it makes a lot of sense, because if we believe, like we learned earlier in this Masechet, there are like Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, right? So I think, like, it's amazing, with all the claims that Judaism is like, I don't know, racist, but like ethnic, or elitist, whatever. It's like the chosen nation. So besides that, we accept conversion like every other sort of religion accepts conversion. But as far as I know, even with all our idea of chosen nation, we're the only religion. I mean, tell me of another religion, Charlie, maybe that actually says that you don't have to be a member of that faith, and you can still have achieve salvation. Right, and you can still actually there's a divine plan, and a way of people to live a life serving God without being members of the faith. Like, I have no idea of any other religion that says that, but we have that, right? We have Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. Okay, so that's point number one. Now, of course, how do you deal with it if you say there's Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach and then they don't have a Chelek Olam Haba? So does that mean God has given them something to do and God will reward or punish them in this world, or maybe there'll be some other worldly reward, but it won't be Olam Haba? Like, it seems like if you're having Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, and your whole system of reward and punishment is ultimately an Olam Haba system, fundamentally, right? That's sort of how where we are. So it would seem like you have to link that with the idea of Chasidei Umas Olam Yesh Lam Chelek Olam Haba. So I really don't know how the Rebbe Eliezer idea works together with the idea of Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, but certainly Rambam sort of rules. Again, I don't know what it means to rule, but rules that like Rabbi Yoshua, that they have a portion in the world to come. It's actually interesting, that some of the Achronim or whatever notes they came with the Rambam in general, they didn't like the idea. It's sort of like the idea, like everybody has a different path up the mountain. Like, our path is the Taryag Mitzvot, their path is the Sheva Mitzvot, but they also get a portion in the world to come. But then you can understand some people feeling like, wait a minute, but we got it a lot harder than they do. We have to do all these mitzvot. They only have the Sheva Mitzvot. Like, is that fair that they do less and they still have a portion of the world? If they have an equal portion, so if you look like at the Red Vaz, who's one of the commentators on the Rambam, classic commentator, he basically said, all right, they have a portion of the world to come, but so nice. They don't get. It's not as good as our portion, So it's interesting to find these areas of difference, and maybe again, as we've been saying, only the Hasidim get a Chelek Olam Haba. Anyway, but it's still such a really important statement in terms of you don't have to be Jewish in order to merit Olam Haba. Yes.
Does Rambam say that you have to keep the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach to be a tzaddik?
Yes. Well, it's a very interesting Rambam. I spoke about that last Shabbos, whatever. Okay. Rambam says, if you keep the 7 mitzvahs B'nai Noach, and not only does it says you have to keep them, it says, and you do them because you believe that God commanded them, then harezem echasidei umas olam v'yesh lo chelek olam haba. But he says, if somebody keeps them out of their own judgment and does not because of the belief that God commanded them through Moshe, then it says ein zeh michasidei umas olam. And here's one of the biggest theological girsod question. So some have ein zeh michasidei umas olam, and argues is v'lo mechachameihem. He's not of the pious of the nations of the world and not of their wise men. And others have the girsa, instead of a vav, v'lo mechachameihem, they have an aleph, ela mechachameihem. He's not pious, but he's wise, right? Because piety specifically has to do with a relationship to God and so on. And he doesn't explicitly say that they don't have a Chelek Olam Haba if they keep them out of their own judgment. It sort of implies it, but it's not explicit. Anyway, it's a much longer discussion. Back to the Gemara, yes.
So if
aren't we still imposing? You were saying that no other religion might allow others who are not in their religion to receive salvation.
Right.
But here, with the 7 Noahide laws, we're really still imposing that. Right.
Right, but that's always true. Like
so
if I
what if
say,
they don't do that,
yeah, but if I have a religion and I say, well, you don't have to be whatever, Buddhist, Christian, or whatever to receive salvation, I would still say, but you have to do X, Y, and Z. Right? I'm not just going to say you can go ahead and be an immoral person and receive salvation. My religion still might teach me that you might still have to live a righteous life, right? So you're right. Meaning we're still sort of dictating the terms of it, but we're not saying that you have to be Jewish, okay? But still, to me, that's a chiddush. Like, do any Christian sects believe that somebody could be not Christian and live a righteous life and get salvation, or not Muslim and live a righteous life? Charlie,
yeah, there are some Christian sects that do, but they're considered
heretical.
Exactly.
All right.
In terms of the B'nai Yisrael, that was standard thing of Oaks and Oxley, Judean,
No. That was assuming they were wicked, and even so. All right, so now we continue. All right, we're continuing. Okay. Okay. Now back to Bilam. So now getting back to the discussion specifically about Bilam. Even that Russia Bilam gave a sign to know whether he would get a chelek l'olam haba. Tamus nafshi mos yisharim v'hi acharisi kamo. In tamus nafshi mos yisharim, if I die like the righteous die, v'hi acharisi kamo. You know that I will have a similar end. I will get olam haba. V'imlav, and if I don't have a peaceful end, right, because he died in the battle with Israel and so on, then lami. I'm sorry, did I skip a line? No. I'll go where my nation goes. I won't get olam haba.
But that means the standard might be they don't get olam haba.
I understand. So the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian went. Right now we're going to do the whole story with Bilam to get him to come. So Tana, Midian and Moab lo hayya lehem shalom olam. Okay, they were two nations that were constantly at war. And nevertheless, they made peace because they had a common enemy, because they were afraid of Yisrael here, right? So there were 2 dogs that were in a flock. Interesting. It speaks about like these sheepdogs. Why specifically dogs in a flock? Anyway,
God's flock.
I don't know. Maybe. Let's see. And they were sort of like, enraged in one another. Their faces were like, like lit up against one another. Buzz Abe, because here it is. I guess you're right. Because like here's like a wolf is coming and it's going to attack the flock. Okay. If I don't help my this dog who's my enemy, my fellow dog here, goes so. Today the wolf will kill him. And tomorrow he'll kill me. Okay, I guess it's why the wolf is attacking, because he wants to get to the sheep. So so they teamed up to kill the Ze'ev. So here too, I guess it's Balak is protecting his flock of the people of Moab, right? And they're joining together with the leaders of Midian to protect their flock as well, because they see Israel as the threat. What's that word about strange bedfellows? What's that line?
Politics makes
politics make strange bedfellows? Okay, fine. There is some other line about a common enemy, right? Yes. Whatever. Anyway, Amar Rav Papa. That's what people say. Karkushta v'shunra, like the weasel and the cat, which are like sworn enemies. They made a feast from the fat of a bad, like of an enemy that suffered its bad luck. So whatever. Anyway, so common enemies brings other people brings other enemies together. A common cause or common enemy. Okay. So now the officers of Moab stayed with Bilam to see what God would say. So where did the officers of Midian go? No, because since he said to them, stay over tonight, let me tell you what God's going to say to me. What, he wants God to curse his people? So here it obviously has it like that they recognize, that God is the God of the Jewish people. Even from an idolatrous perspective, and they might think every nation has its God, right? If they thought that Bilam needed permission from the God of Israel, then he said, well, that ain't going to happen. So they just gave up on it. Okay. Amar Rav Nachman, chutzpah afilu klaping shmaya mahani. If you're acting like with chutzpah, with temerity or whatever, it'll get, not necessarily it's the right way to act, but it'll get you places, even vis-a-vis God. Okay, first God says, don't go with them. And then he kept on nudging God and had the chutzpah to act again, and God finally gave in. Rashi sort of said it was the chutzpah that he had to the Sarei Moab and the Midyan, which was, but I don't think that Rashi says, Binu po, Shem HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'tchilotech. I don't know why it was chutzpah that he said to them, stay over another night or something. To me, it was chutzpah that he decided that he thought like he could ask God after God had already told him no. All right. I'm going to say this. Chutzpah machus b'lo taga. If you have chutzpah, if you're able to sort of be like, what's a good word? Temerity, I think is the word. But anyway, a little brazen or whatever, then that could give you power. Like it's like a king without a crown. It's not recognized power. It's informal power, right? If you're a pushy, brazen chutzpah person, you're able to wield power beyond the office that you have officially recognized. But you know that like at meetings, right? There could be some guy that doesn't have like a standing in the company or whatever, but because he's like such a nudnik and a chutzpah, whatever, he manages to get his way. Yeah. It's a very powerful like idea. Like it's like kingship without the crown. Okay. Where were we? Because David says, so this was why David didn't take vengeance from the sons of Tsuya, who were like attacked members in whatever, in David's sort of officers or whatever, because he basically said, look, I'm just a young king and they're more powerful than me. Okay, they had shown this, this sort of arrogance and temerity, and they acted in this way like he was a little bit afraid of them, even though he was the king. Okay. He was lame in one leg. He went shefi, and somehow shefi means like Rashi says, like it means displaced, like one leg was displaced from its place, dislocated. Shefi. Shimshon b'shtei raglav. Shimshon in two of legs, which is pretty amazing considering who's Shimshon. Shenema shififon alei orach. This is about a descendant of Dan, and is identified with Shimshon, who was like a serpent. But the double language of shififon means that even that he had like some type of a lameness in both legs. Okay, Bilan sumabachas mein of haya. He also was blind in one eye. Shenema sesum ha'ayin. Now sesum ha'ayin, presumably the easiest way to read it is like satum, closed. But Rashi reads it, then he wouldn't be saying about himself. Rashi reads the word satum to somehow mean open in one eye. Don't ask me. But anyway, if you're open in one eye, it means implicitly you're closed in the other. Okay. Kosein ba'masohaya. Not only that,
what was it focused on?
I don't know what to tell you about it. I don't know what to tell you about that. Kosein ba'masohaya. He would deal necromancy with his penis. The ksiv hacha nofel v'galui einayim. The ksiv hasam falling down in open eyes. Hinei aman nofel amitai sher aster aleha. So the falling there had to do with sexual matters. So here too. Itmar marzutra amar kosein ba'masohaya. Mar breid ravina amar shabal asono. No, the idea of falling down, which clearly has sexual connotations, it means not about how he did his necromancy or whatever, but it means that he actually had intercourse with his donkey. Mandamar kosim b'masrayik amrin. Mandamar balsono, like we said, by this verse by Esther. Ksiv hacha karash shachav kari. Crouches down, lies down like a lion. That's part of Bilam's prophecy. Ksiv hasam, and it says there by Yael and Sisra, kara nafal bein ragleh kara nafal shachav. Between her, her legs, he fell down, which there that obviously has sexual imagery. So there too, here too, he has a sexual.
It's his donkey as opposed to anyone else.
Well, we're going to get to that, okay? Because he has a very intimate relationship with his donkey, as we're about to see. V'yodea dato yo. Now, in describing himself, he says, "The one who knows the thoughts of the Most High." This is a great line in the Gemara. Hashta das behemto lo hayu yodea. Das elyon hayu yodea. He didn't know what his own animal was thinking. He knows what God is thinking. Now, presumably that means because his animal could see the angel and he couldn't see the angel. But the Gemara is going to use this to tell a different story. Not so much he didn't know what his animal was thinking, but he wasn't even as smart as his animal. His animal bested him in an argument. Okay, his beast bested him. Okay, how is that? My dat behemta. What does that mean? The amile. My time alo rachavta susaya, because the Sarei Moab said to him, "Hey, why are you on a donkey? Why aren't you on a horse? Like that's like a more coveted way of riding." Amalahu Shaddai Luhuberativa. Nah, it's better because the donkey eats this like grass and the swamp stuff, so it's easier. I don't have to worry about feeding it so much. Amarle, so the donkey said to him, "Hello, Anochi Asoncha. What are you talking about? Like, oh, you're using me because it's easier, like today, or ad hoc. No, I'm your donkey. You're always using me." So he says, "Latina Bama, nah, I only use you when I have a burden to carry." So he says, no, Asher Achavtalai. No, I'm your donkey that you ride on regularly. Don't make it seem like this is some chance thing. Cry Baal, only every now and then. No, no, you're always riding on me. The low, not only that, am I your constant way in which you ride, okay, and you're trying to be dismissive of it. I act as your wife at night. Have I ever endangered or whatever to act this way to you? So the word sakain here is being read not as like sakana or something like that, or thought or whatever, but it says there by David, right, that she was to him as a sochanes, as somebody that kept him warm at night.
The funny thing is, he never had relations with her.
There it says he never had relations with her. I know. Anyway, the point is that his donkey was smarter than him. So you know how God thinks. You can't even win a fight with your donkey. So what did he mean by that? So he knew the one moment that God in the day got angry, and if he would have given his curse during that moment, it would have been effective. Okay, that's what the prophet says to Yisrael. Remember what Balak, schemed against you. And what Bilam responded, from Shittim till Gilgal, you should know the righteousness of God. What does that mean? Know how many good deeds, how kind I was to you. All those days I made a point of not getting angry, so Bilam should not have an opening to curse you. Okay, and that's from Shittim to Gilgal. From
like
the time of,
right. Well, yeah. Could have, even though give bested God in some way, even though God didn't really want to do it.
Right, I understand. That is a theme, right? Like days and times which are, bad things happen and good things happen. We had before, like there are aspects of how the universe works that, because we have to still deal with the fact, look, in the way the story reads, it's almost like Bilam becomes almost like a comical figure, right? So you have to sort of explain it, right? Like, in a way in which he has some power, right? So, all right. Anyway, that's Mina Shittim Vada Gilgal, right? From the sin of Shittim until they got to Gilgal, the entire period, I made sure never to get angry. Okay, had I had shown any anger during that period of time, nothing would have been left to the Jewish people. That's what Bilam said about what should I curse that God is not cursed? And the site says, it teaches you that God made sure if God is not being zoaim, God is not getting angry, I have no ability to curse them. Okay, so El zoaim b'chol yom, and God gets angry b'chol day. V'kama za'amo rega, and it's a moment, a brief moment, but I know how to get that moment. But nowadays he's not doing it. Shenemar ki rega be'apo, a moment in God's anger. Chayim b'yirtzono. Okay, Ibai Seima, Lechami b'chadrecha, go my people, go into your room. Segur daltecha be'adecha, close your doors in front of you. Chavi kimat rega, or is it chavi or chaki?
Here is
chavi, I guess. Hide for a moment. Ad yavor za'am, until the anger passes. So you see, so there's a za'am that's in zo'aim, right? Umay zom lo za'am Hashem. So you have to, if that moment of za'am, that's the dangerous moment. Okay, Amos Ratach. Now, when is that moment that God gets angry? Since Bilam wasn't mechav in it, but we're going to tell you when it was. So not exactly. We're going to give you a framework.
No, Bilam did know. Just God
Bilam did know. That's true. God wasn't getting angry. Okay. Amos Ratach. But plus Shai Kamaisa, the first 3 hours of the day, from 6 to 9 a.m. Ki chivrase karbelas to Tarnagolta, when the crown of, is that what's called the crown? Comb. The comb of the rooster turns white. So kol shata v'shati nami chivrata. Gemara says, what do you mean? It's always white. No, during those 3 hours, I guess. No. During yes, it's white, but there are red streaks. And that one moment, that is the moment that God gets angry, there are no red streaks. Now, there was a story. Mina, this I think in Brachos as well. The Having B'Shivusei Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, that was in the neighborhood. There was a heretic in the neighborhood of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, or a sectarian. The Having Kamitzarele, he was giving Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi a lot of anguish. Yom Echad Naketar Golta. So Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi wanted to get back at him, wanted to stop him. So he took a rooster, Vasile Bikare, and he tied it up on his bedpost. The Osim, and he sat. He was going to watch, right, when it was, when that streak was when it was going to turn white. You know what they? A watched pot never boils. Okay, so a watched rooster never turns white. Amar kimata hushata. When that time came, he said, when that moment comes, Ilake, I'll curse this min. Kimatu hushata. When that time came, he had dropped off to sleep. Amar shmamina love orachara. You see that it is not the time. It is not the right way of God. You know, it's not appropriate. Punishment for a tzaddik is not good, which means for me to punish another person, that's not something I should be doing. I shouldn't even be cursing minim. It's not the right thing for me to do. So at that very moment, he fell asleep. It reminds me of like this, Kafka's story, The Castle, which is such, oh my God, anyway, such a long, hard book to read. But anyway, like the whole time, it's like he's trying to find the meaning of like some secret, like it's all a metaphor, whatever it's a metaphor of. Anyway, so finally he's like about to find the answer at the end of the whole book, and then he falls asleep. Anyway,
I'm still not fully getting it. I mean, maybe I'm just not getting it. You said it, but it sounds like when God is angry at that time, then you can like get God. It's almost like mechanistic. I push a button, I curse him, and God will have to agree. I mean, like, but if God doesn't want it, it's not going to agree.
I understand, but it's a general question about in general, right? The chirurchis and divine intervention, and how much God allows a latitude for people to act, and how much God is directly controlling, and so on. It's sort of ways in which God has sort of set the powers of the universe in place, and you can plug into them. Now, God can prevent it. God did prevent it. He chose not to get angry. Okay, but if he had let things operate, then evil can succeed. God, it's the balance between olam kimin hago noeg. Now we translate olam kimin hago noeg in very mechanistic, scientific terms. But you could understand that even if you believe in a whole metaphysics, there's olam kimin hago noeg. There's leaving the metaphysics to operate as they normally would, whether it's belief in magic and other types of things or whatever, or God's anger or propitious times or evil times like Tisha B'Av, whatever before, and whether it's deciding to override them. Okay, yeah.
Is it strange they're describing Bilam as such an unsavory character, and then they choose his blessings to open the daven?
Well, we're going to get there to some degree, so let's keep on going. Okay. Tana Mishmei Rabbi Meir. We told the name of Rabbi Meir. So what is that moment that God gets angry? It's the moment when the sun is shining. And the kings put their crowns on their heads and bow down to the sun. That's the moment God gets angry. Okay, Vayokim Bilam Babok of Yachavoshes also know he saddled his donkey. Tana Mishum Shimon Elazar. Avam Mivatelas Shurasha Gedola Me Avram. Over exceeding love, sort of like destroys the line of proper sort of restraint that's proper for somebody in a position of greatness. You don't act certain ways. You have your servants acted or whatever. But if you're because of the love, you might cross over that line. Okay, Avram got up in the morning, right? Of course that's ironic because that's by the Akedah, right? I mean, there's also by Yashkim Avram Baboker, right, when it's argued by Stom and Amor, but presumably this is the Akedah. So here it's bin Chasher Hafta, his love of Yitzchak, but presumably it's also like we're trying to make the point of like his love of God. Okay, so he actually was so eager to do it that he didn't have his servants do it; he did himself. Similarly, hatred gets people to act out of normal boundaries of accepted behavior. Even of people of stature. Also know he is binding up his own donkey. You should do it even for not the right reason, because if you do it for not the right reason, often leads to the right reason. If you count, Balak, did 7 Elim and 7 7 Parim and 7 Elim, 14 3 times is 42. So by the merit of that, and he only did it for the purpose of cursing Israel.
Wait, I'm sorry. So how is a mitzvah?
He said a mitzvah. Well, he offered a sacrifice to God.
It was to God, or is it what is it?
No, I think it's just the assumption is that it's to God. Okay, so v'yatsa mimenu, because Bilam is trying to get God's favor.
But he did outside the Mishkan, so it's strictly chutz.
All right. Anyway, so he did this, but he was offering sacrifices to God, but it's not just a normal shalom yishua. It's not like, because of less than ideal reasons. It's actually to subvert a divine purpose, to actually to cause curse on Bnei Israel. And nevertheless, v'yatsa mimenu Ruth came out of it. Okay, he merited that root came out of it, which is, by the way, an interesting in terms of the Baal Lishma. Normally, the Baal Lishma, we mean you would start, adopting certain behaviors, and then you start doing the behaviors, and you realize the intrinsic value of them, and you don't do them for exterior motivations, right? But here it's, he did things, and he never led him doing anything good, but somehow the merit of that led to him, like he got merit for the deed. And that led to, and that merit somehow brought about a future generation. So it's more about getting rewarded and the good that comes out of the reward rather than, it's like it's not the normal way I think we understand it. Anyway, I'm Rabbi Yossi Bar Huna. Ruth Pito Shel Aglon Ben Beno Shel Balak Melech Moab. Ruth was the daughter of Aglon, the granddaughter of Balak. Okay. Haita. Amalei Rava Rabba Bar Mari. Ksiv.
Wait, I'm sorry, wait. That's
the end of the
no, but that's talking about Bilam. This is the daughter of Balak, though.
Yeah, it is Balak. Balak was the one who brought the sacrifices. Bizchusi was said you weren't paying attention. You're too busy talking. See, next time I'm sending you to the principal. Okay.
My fault.
All right. Whatever, guys. I'm kidding. Moving on. Ksiv. Yetev Elohim exclaimed Shlomo Mishimcha. Now this seems completely irrelevant here. It's when this Gemara appears somewhere else. There's a linking agadata that links this to the previous one. Anyway, here it's like a complete parenthetical statement. Said Rabbi Bar Mari. It says God. So this is what people said to David when he anointed Shlomo as his successor. They said God should do good. It should bring good to the name of Shlomo greater than your name. And make his throne greater than your throne. So the Gemara says, is that acceptable to say to a king, your son should be greater than you? So Amalei, no. When it says Mishimcha, it means Me'ain Ka'amalei. Let his name be good, Mishimcha, from your name, not greater than your name, deriving some of the greatness. Let his name, have some of that greatness of your name. Yael should be blessed among the women. From the women of the tent, she should be blessed. So Nashim Ba'ol Mani, who are the women of the tent. So Rivka Rachel Leah, right? There's all those stories about them in the tent. So can you say such a thing that Yael is blessed greater than Sar Rivka Rachel Leah? She should be blessed from the women of the tent. Her blessing should be somewhat similar to that. Okay, Hachanami me'ein kamarle. Who pleaded Rabbi Yossi Bar Chuni and that argued on Rabbi Chuni. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chuni. B'chol adam mitkanei chutz mi b'no v'talmido. People are jealous of anybody except their son and their student. That's debatable. B'no mishlomo mishlomo. From the story of Shlomo, that they said, let his throne be greater than yours, and that was a good thing. I mean, there are many people that feel that way, right? I think that's probably the natural. Like, you want your kids to succeed even more than you. I don't think it's true about everybody, but anyway, but generally, right, people are not jealous. They dafka want their children to be more successful than they are. The Talmido, I think by students, it's debatable, right? You have some professor, he has a great student or whatever. He doesn't want that student to be more popular or whatever, or have, let a student win the Nobel Peace Prize. That's fine by me. Oh, anyway, Ibai Seimas, it says, by Elisha and Eliyahu, it'll be double of your spirit on me. The Ibai Seima, by Yismoches Yadav Alav, Moshe and Yoshua, he put both his hands, even though God only said one of his hands. Okay, so I guess we will. Let's go 2 more minutes. Vayasem davar b'fi Bilam, and he put a word, a matter in the mouth of Bilam. God sent an angel with Bilam to make sure that Bilam said the right thing and didn't curse them. Rabbi Yonasan Omer chika, or chaket, how do you chika? A hook. He put a hook like in Bilam's mouth, a bit, right. And he dragged Bilam, he controlled Bilam's mouth. Okay, and we'll pick up with here tomorrow. We'll see about all the blessings of Bilam and how, because God was controlling Bilam's mouth, all of these blessings indicate how Bilam really wanted to curse, and God, transformed the curse into a blessing, which is what the Psukim say. So we will pick up with this tomorrow.
So, Rabbi, you're saying